Hello and welcome to Strong Opinion, episode 12. The name of this episode is Breaking Bad, the solution to change our leaders and end poverty. Everyone knows Breaking Bad is this TV show in which a chemistry school teacher, high school teacher, discovers he has lung cancer. And in order to fund his treatment, somehow he decides to produce methamphetamines, and he becomes very successful at that. He makes a lot of money, and even when his cancer gets into remission, he continues to produce methamphetamines, and actually he really breaks bad and becomes a gangster and gets violent and murders a lot of people. So basically my question comes almost as a continuation of the last episode. Is violence necessary for the actual condition of democracy to change? Because one thing is certain, we have a lot of activists, we have a lot of scientists, we have a lot of people with knowledge, we have a lot of pacifists. I think myself, I think I am a pacifist. I'm not sure about that. But the thing is, there is a lot of informed people who have been trying to make things change, and they have provided the data and the info of how things are really working on the democracy, and how actually our democracies are not democracies. They are actually oligarchies. We are in the hands of big companies who decide the destinies of millions of people, and politicians somehow just cooperate with them. They are Politicians are corrupt, and they just do what the companies pay them for. Depending on the party, depending in which company they are working for, more or less, or sometimes the parties pay for. The companies pay for whatever party is in power. There are a lot of different ways of lobbying and making influence on our parliaments. And what happens, at least here in Portugal, a lot of politicians, they themselves, after working in the parliament, they go to work in the companies. They offered opportunities of business while they're working in parliament, or before going to parliament, they owned or they were part of such companies. So it is all very corrupt, but also very obvious. And so we all know this. We all know this happens. But we continue to follow the rules, which is we go to vote. And it's the only power we have. Each 4 to 5 years, depending on who we are voting, whether to the parliament, whether to our president here in Portugal, we decide who has the power, and that's it. We don't have much more things. Sometimes there could be some referendum, but that's very exceptional. Sometimes we can endorse some petitions, but that is very rare. And that's it. We are powerless. There's nothing else we can do. We can make some demonstrations, but the result is practically zero. We have unions, but most of unions are connected with parties. So there's nothing we can do. The media is also connected with parties, and of course, media is supported both by advertising. That means private sponsors, or they are supported by their owners, which are private big companies. Actually, here in Portugal, there are only 2 or 3 big private owners of the several media we have here. So it's all very, very non-democratic. So each one of us as a citizen has absolutely no value. We are just discardable material to be used. We are just workers. And once we are worn out, we are dispensable. We just are thrown out. So what happens if we all workers just start breaking bad? Which means well, it can have several meanings, because as long as my knowledge of English language goes, breaking bad means stop being good and being bad. So in this context, breaking bad can mean we workers just start becoming like them, the politicians and the CEOs. Well, actually, most of us workers are like them. I told that several times before in other videos. Most of us are all the same kind of individuals. We just had different opportunities. If we had the opportunity of power, if we had the money, we would behave. Most of us would behave the same way they do. We would be as bad and disrespectful and we would take abuse as the people in power do. So we would break bad, or we would be bad as they are. So I'm not talking about that kind of Breaking Bad. I'm talking about other kind of Breaking Bad. I'm talking about being violent. I'm talking about gathering and start some sort of revolution. On yesterday's video, on episode 11, I was looking for a word and I didn't find at the time, and the word was anarchy. And nobody wants that. I don't want that. And that is what would happen if we would break bad. Anarchy would happen. And I mean, we would take the parliament and would be violent, would be, I don't know, killing millionaires or whatever. And then what would happen? We will be like one of those republics in South America with revolutions all the time. Like, what is the solution for all this? Because also the respect for the rules of democracy, at least the rules that are established now, is not working. We have people that are for decades, like for more than 50 years or even more than that, describing how capitalism works and also how communism works and how all the non-workings, all the bad systems work. How manipulative everything is, and also how regular citizens, the people, citizens and non-citizens, let's include everything, immigrants, everyone, how regular people are just somehow inducted to, they are just taken into exhaustion and somehow inducted to not think about this and just be focused on survival and have as least knowledge as possible of what's going on. I myself, I'm making these videos and I'm not a scholar of political studies or economy or anything like that. I don't have much knowledge of these things. I'm pretty lazy, but I have concerns. I would like to know much more than I know now, and it's very hard to select the knowledge that really matters to make things change. And So far, I did not find any political system that would allow truth and knowledge to determine the destiny of a nation, of a country, and its population. Um, there are good examples of some countries of Northern Europe, like Finland, which I mentioned yesterday or the day before, or on the video before, or there's also Denmark, I guess. Um, but the thing is, as I said on last video, there's enough money to end with the poverty in the world 22 times over. People with power made the option of not ending with poverty. Actually, they are now making the option of funding weaponry because there are wars going on. That's understandable, but I don't know. I still believe that there are ways of getting rid of dictators without waging war against their countries. We could just arrest them, not to say kill them. and and somehow uh, um, invest on. I mean, if it was possible, for instance, for the Americans to manipulate South American countries to put dictators in power, perhaps it might also be possible to manipulate countries with dictators in power, to manipulate those countries to put democracy in power. I don't know, it's just a suggestion. And no one needs to break bad. The problem is still a problem of purpose. We have sociopaths in power. Our political leaders, CEOs in companies, capitalism, dictatorships. All these regimes are based on the resolutions of sociopaths who are in power. There are different sorts of sociopaths. There are different levels of aggression from sociopaths, but that's what they are. They are people who don't rule themselves by empathy and compassion. They rule themselves by greed and the thirst for power. So, how to take them out of there in a democratic system? I don't think it's possible, because democracy also depends on sociopathic personalities. You have to be greedy. You must have this thirst for power to convince the crowd to vote for you, and also to play the game of politics. You must become a sociopath. You must break bad that way. You must become one of them. So you have to break bad on that first way I described. And by doing so, you're just losing. But also, becoming violent, like creating this elite as the Lord of the Rings, this brother fellowship of the ring, this elite of pure, decent souls that take their swords and take power somehow. That also doesn't work. That's the only thing that will happen is anarchy and more violence, and the cycle of violence that will never end. So, in answer to the question, though sometimes I really feel like I'm going to break bad, breaking bad is not the solution. So I'm really struggling. I'm not a genius, and I'm really very far from being a smart enough person even to give these talks and suggestions and conferences that activists do. They are really smart people, and not even them are capable of doing anything for things to change. So I really don't know. But there must be a way. There must be a way to to make these greedy individuals lose their influence and lose their power. There must be a way. Something has to be done. Probably that's the great enigma of humankind. How to be in power without being a bastard? That's the question. Okay, guys. See you next time. Don't forget to press the like button. And if you didn't do yet, press the subscribe button. See you.